It's 8 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, July 12th, 2023. The temperature when I left the house was 78 degrees with 78% humidity. Right now it's probably 80 degrees. At least standing in the sun is probably a few degrees hotter. So, not really hot enough to sweat a lot, but if you start moving around you will sweat. So I'm a little damp right now. There's dew on the grass, lots of grasshoppers. We're kind of getting to the part of the pasture where the goatweed isn't growing so well. You're also seeing grasses that are shooting up high in the air. So, like you'll see some stalks of grass that are up past that cow's belly there and higher. So this isn't summer grass. This is something else. I don't know what that is. But there's a bunch of it around here. Some of it was quite tall. I still have a calf or a cow on the wrong side of the wire. Let's see, where is she? I think she's there. No, she's over there. She's over in the pasture. Down there. I can barely see her. I tried to herd her back with the rest of the herd, but she got spooked, and so she ran away. And I'm like, nope, not going to do that today. Last night I fixed the water. Apparently something pulled the hose out of the socket, so it wasn't getting water. Blackie still has that wound. It's just on the surface there. Hopefully it'll heal soon. Anyway, it's a beautiful day. Beautiful morning. Let's see what's on my mind this morning. This morning, the importance of family, especially your wife. And I don't know how to put a dollar value on this, but I knew that I had a distinct advantage over my coworkers and competitors because I had a good wife. If you have a good wife, that's somebody you can lean on when times are rough, emotionally, physically, financially. You know, the marriage is not supposed to be a thing of convenience, or it's not supposed to be it's not a recognition of one's love. It's not a friendship ceremony. It's supposed to be the building block of society, the concrete upon which everything else rests. And in my family, I've been blessed with my parents. They stayed married. My grandparents all stayed married. I can't say they had the best marriages in the world, but they did stay married, and that provided a firm foundation. And better yet, despite their animosity that they may have had for one another at different times in their lives, they always were trying to help each other succeed. And that's the true mark of marriage, I think, is when both husband and wife sacrifice everything they have for each other. When you're looking out for your wife and your wife is looking out for you, it builds a sort of harmony that translates to success everywhere. I know that it's not success that breeds a good marriage, because lots of successful people have terrible marriages. They get divorced, or they don't get married at all. And I know that bad marriages have bad results. So, does that make sense? So, Good marriages have good results. Bad marriages have bad results. So you can see that the marriage is kind of the driving factor. But there are successful people that aren't married or have a bad marriage, and there are unsuccessful people that have a good marriage. Those unsuccessful people, I would say, are just successes around the corner. Maybe not success in one field or another, but there is success, you know. I can't help but think that a family that raises kids, and even though the father never makes a lot of money or never really succeeds at anything in life outside of his family life, I don't know how that can be counted as a failure. So the benefits, the economic benefits, let me count some of them. So having someone to rely on, having someone to talk to, a confidant, someone to share crazy ideas with and help you analyze situations. Especially for me, I'm more of the intellectual type, less of the social type. So I need someone that at least has some sense of what people are thinking and doing, that I can counsel with and consult with. Economically, that's the huge value. I mean, how much would you pay to have a confidant? Someone that you could trust to not share your secrets, and someone that you could trust to give you the best advice, that's with you every day and won't abandon you. How much is that worth? Another thing that I thought was a really huge advantage was my wife would make me lunches, which of course we saved the cost of buying lunches at work, which were more expensive because of the location, you know, other reasons. But I never had to worry about food. You know, I never had to go hungry at work. And I always knew that at the end of the day I can go home and get a good meal. You know, and women I don't think appreciate how important that is. But the saying is, the way to a man's heart is through his belly. We men are simple creatures. There's really not a lot we want. Good food, good companionship, and a nice chair to sit down in. You know, really, those are about the only things I really care about. If my chair breaks or if it's no longer comfortable, I will get a new chair. That's one of the most important things to me, is that I have a chair I can sit in. If I come home to an empty house, that's demoralizing. And my wife doesn't understand that when she goes on vacation to see her family or something. The kids reported to her, they said, "Dad's depressed." You know, he's absolutely depressed. That's true. It's a very dark time for me when Mom's not home. And I don't think she fully appreciated the depth of my depression until she was talking to the kids, and the kids would call and say, "Dad's just, he doesn't even, you know, come out of his room now." You know, Mom's like, "Okay, go in there, make some food," you know, things like that. I laugh, you know, it seems funny, but it's very serious. And food, oh my goodness. I wonder how many arguments at home are caused by one or the other spouse just being hungry. You know, husband comes home from work or whatever, and he's tired, he's worn out, he has a lot on his mind. And if he can sit down to a good meal and just take that time to decompress and get back to family life, how much better life is, you know. It's hard to argue with full stomachs. It really is, you know. A lot's been said by feminists about how marriage is a form of slavery. And if that's how you view it, then you have to compare it with other forms of slavery. I thought it was funny how the feminists say, "Oh, you should trade your husband for a boss. The boss doesn't care about you. If you perform, the boss is happy. If you don't perform, the boss will fire you. If when you get old and useless, the boss will say, 'See you later, get out of the door. I don't want to see you ever again.' If the company doesn't do well, the boss is like, well, cuts have to be made, and that's you. Bye-bye. Boss doesn't care about you. Who would you rather have as a slave master? You know, a husband who's fully invested in your success, or a boss? Now, obviously, marriage isn't slavery. The marriage contract begins with a voluntary covenant to each other to stick it out. So if you're not ready to make such a contract or make such a deal, then don't get married. When you realize that the purpose of life isn't to enjoy everything life has to offer, that hedonism is not the solution, but some form of stoicism, the opposite of hedonism, is where we're supposed to be. And you realize that true happiness is gained by serving others and loving them. Love not as an emotion, but love as an action. Then you realize the purpose of marriage. That does not look good on that cheeks behind. Is that the way it's supposed to look? I don't know. Did she get into something? No, she's not skinny. I want to look at your behind. It's just dirty. Once you submit to your spouse, and husbands and wives have to submit to each other in different ways. It's not a marriage. Marriage isn't a, what's the word? It's like equity or equality. You're not coming to marriage as the same person offering the same things. It's two different people, two parts of a whole. And that needs to be acknowledged and recognized. And that said, by tradition, we have associated certain things with one or the other part of the married couple. But honestly, the married couple bears all of those burdens together. Like washing dishes, for instance. Traditionally, obviously, the woman would do that. But it's not only the woman's responsibility to wash dishes. You know, even in those traditional situations, if she was ill or if she was away, the husband would step in and take care of the issue, right? And of course, you know, men are relied upon to earn the money and the bread, but that doesn't mean that women have nothing to do in that realm either. It's a shared burden. You know, it is true that women do better in the home and men do better outside the home. Personalities are different. I think the way that women experience emotions and men experience emotions are different from each other. And I think trying to say that this emotion in a man is the same as that emotion in a woman, I don't think it's quite correct. And if we treat women like little men, which feminists want to do, they want to say women are just men. There's no difference between women and men. That's what they want to say, and there should be no difference. Well, if we treat women as if they're little men, that's not correct. That's not the way it's supposed to be. They're not just little men. They're women. They're different. They bring something different to the equation. They need to be honored and respected for their contribution. And their contribution isn't like, what's that old song? I can do everything you can do but better. That's not the point, right? You know, so I can't put a dollar value on a good marriage. I know somebody tried to analyze what it would cost to hire somebody to do everything a wife does, and of course it came out to be hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And if you and your wife are both working and you have kids at home and you're sending the kids to preschool, or not preschool, but daycare or whatever, I would ask if the wife is really making that much money to afford the daycare, and secondly, if you're not losing something valuable that you would have had if the wife was raising the children. You know, asking somebody else to raise your kids is a terrible idea. The daycare teachers, or whatever you call them, I don't know what you call them. I've never used daycare, but do they really care about your kids as much as your wife does? And are they really going to see to it that that kid gets the best of everything and will be raised in the most wholesome environment? Or are they going to do the bare minimum and even lower because they can get away with it because nobody's watching, and then charge you as if they're doing the premium? And I think a whole lot of the latter is happening. And any daycare that actually cared about the kids, you know, when you get 30 or 40 kids together, there's just no way that any one person or 2 or 5 people can even care for those people the same way, you know, a mother can care for 1 or 2 kids, or how many ever are at home. That's something to consider about that equation, you know. But I will say this, in our church, the saying is no success can compensate for failure at the home. And my interpretation of that statement is that if your home life is bad, there's nothing that will fill that hole. No other kind of success can compensate for that. And you know, if your economic life is bad, if you have a bad job, or you don't make very much money, or you're living pretty poorly, a good marriage, a good home life can compensate for that. It makes it all worth it, you know. But if your marriage is bad, if your home life is bad, $1 billion sounds like a nice deal, but honestly, wouldn't you rather have someone that actually loves you rather than a bunch of money, you know? So keep that in mind. The most important things in life is, you know, getting married, having a good family life, raising kids. You know, it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or if you believe in evolution. That's obvious that that's the most important things, is reproduction and raising the next generation, preparing them for the challenges that are going to arise. Everything else outside of that is icing on the cake. It's you know, it may be nice to have a fast car or a big house or lots of land and cows, but it doesn't make up for if I was missing, you know, a good wife and kids. So it's something to consider. That said, if you do have a good wife and kids, it's your duty to make the most of that. Have as many kids as you can have. Raise them as best as you can. Go out in the world and be the greatest influence for good you possibly can. And I would dare say, make as much money as you can without jeopardizing the other things, you know. What's that about a candle on a hill? You don't light a candle and set it under a bushel. If you're a candle, if there's light in your life, if there's something good, you need to share that with the world so other people can see it and experience it, and hopefully take it for themselves as well. So guys, have a great day. Take care and bye-bye.